considered one of America's most popular desserts in the United States. Although this scrumptious dessert is quite tasty and popular in American culture, there is more to pie than meets the eye. Of course, that is pie, not pie. In short terms, pie is defined as taking the circumference of a circle and dividing it by the diameter of the circle. Pi is considered an irrational number, meaning it is a number that does not have an endpoint and does not repeat in terms of digits. Pi, or 3.14159, is also a very common term used universally in mathematics. Although this term is known by most people you ask, it does not have the most known history. The formula to calculate pi was first created by Egyptian and Babylonian mathematicians in the early 2000th century BC. These people at the time realized that the relationship between the circumference and diameter does not change, regardless of the size of the circle. In the 3rd century BC, Archimedes, a famous Greek philosopher, was one of the first people to attempt to calculate pi. His method of doing it was to first draw a regular circle, then draw a regular hexagon both inside and outside the circle. He then used his measurements of all his regular shapes and roughly came up with a number. This number was one of the first rough representations of pi. Later on, a Chinese mathematician named Zhu Chongzi used a method similar to Archimedes' method of finding pi. But instead of using hexagons, he used more-sided polygons to create a more precise number that represents pi. He used a polygon with 12,288 sides and managed to produce the fraction 355 over 113, which is 6 decimal places correct in pi. It wasn't until later on that pi began to be calculated to its true irrational number. To calculate pi correctly, you would need to create an infinite series. Using an infinite series is logical because it makes sense to have a never-ending formula to calculate a never-ending number. The most common infinite series to calculate pi is the Gregory-Leibniz series. This series finds pi by taking the number 4 and multiplying it to 1 over 1 minus 1 over 3 plus 1 over 5 minus 1 over 7 plus 1 over 9, and so on. This history became a predominant element to the pi we know of to this day. Pi has also become integrated in today's popular culture and society. We have people known as mnemonic prodigies who learn and memorize hundreds of digits of pi to amaze people and use it as a party trick. Pi has been referenced in many famous movies such as Star Trek, which is an extremely popular film in the modern world. Movies have come out to directly talk about pi and show its roles in society and the impact it had on people, such as the movie Pi, Faith, and Chaos. And we even have a day dedicated to pi, which is formally known as Pi Day, and is on March 14th or 3/14. Here's something worth mentioning. Did you know that if you flip 3.14 around, you get the letters P, I, and E? And did you also know in the 763rd decimal place of pi, there are 6 nines in a row? This area is called the Feynman point. What I'm trying to have an emphasis on is that there are many interesting things about pi, but certainly not the only ones out there. Pi is constantly being updated with more and more decimal places, so far at over 5 trillion digits. Its complexity astonishes dedicated mathematicians such as Archimedes and Zhu Chongzi. Its endless numbers catch the eyes of mnemonic prodigies and people who find an interest in it, and its unknown presence catches the curiosity of future humans with an urge to figure out more about this mysterious number. Pi, the number that represents the curve of nature's most predominant and simplistic shape, the circle.